Over this Christmas break, I realized that I have a lot of unwatched guitar tutorials that I have bought from various different artists and platforms like the Jam Track Central, and I figured this really is the best time to go over all that. However, what I wanted to do was to stream all that content into all my devices from a server. So what I did was I went ahead and set up a Plex server, which is a media server, on my Raspberry Pi. So in this video today, I'm going to show you how to do that yourself as well. By the way, if you like this video, don't forget to hit the like button, and if you want to see more types of this content, then subscribe to my channel. A Raspberry Pi is a computer of this form factor. This is not a Raspberry Pi, by the way. This is an IoT enabled device which is compatible with Amazon Web Services, but more on this on another video. My Raspberry Pi is tucked away under the table that you see behind me, so I'm not getting that out. As I said before, if you want to stream content like I am doing right now, you really have two options. Number one, you can invest in what's called a NAS, or network attached storage. It can be quite big and expensive, or you can invest in this Raspberry Pi, which altogether with the SD card and the Raspberry Pi should cost you not more than £80. So I think it's a worthwhile investment to have. Anyways, I'm now going to show you the setup process. So first thing you need to do is to set up your Raspberry Pi. Nowadays it's a lot easier. You just have to download the Raspberry Pi Imager, which allows you to write the operating system to an SD card that the Raspberry Pi will boot from. Do note that the setup I'm going to show you is for Mac OS. I hope the setup is similar for Windows operating systems as well. So for this step only, you'll need your monitor, keyboard and mouse connected to the Raspberry Pi. I also recommend connecting that device to your network through an Ethernet cable. It's a lot more stable that way. So first thing I'm going to do is to enable SSH on the Raspberry Pi. This essentially allows you to remotely manage this device. So what you'll need to do is first take a note of your IP address, so you can use the command ifconfig to get your internal or private network IP address, and keep a note of that because we'll need that later on. And secondly, you need to execute these commands: sudo systemcontrol enable SSH and sudo systemcontrol start SSH. I'm not going to do this on my device now because it's already enabled. So I'm already, as you can see from here, I'm already logged into my device, Raspberry Pi. Okay, so after you've done these two steps, we can leave the Raspberry Pi connected, and from this point onwards we don't need to have physical connection to it. We'll do the rest of the steps remotely. So the next thing that needs to be done is to install Xquartz on your macOS. This is an important part because it allows you to open up applications such as Chromium browser from your Raspberry Pi and interact with it from your macOS device. So once you've done that, you will need to re-log in back into your macOS device. So after that, just go onto terminal and basically SSH with this command. So SSH -x and your username. So I'm just going to leave it like this in a template, and then and then your IP address, whatever, right? So whatever it is. So, and then I'm already logged into my device, so I'm not going to do that. But once you have done that, it'll log into your machine and you can basically interact with it. So first thing you need to do now is open up the bashrc file. This is in your home directory, and add the following lines. So these lines that you see here, by the way, I'm using Vim, but if you're not used to it, I recommend using Nano. It's a bit more friendlier. I'm primarily a Vim user, so I know it by heart. So it's my go-to editor for my everyday workflow and pretty much anything I do to edit files. So anyways, so you can just do bashrc like this as well, and see, I'm already using the vim command, so I'm just gonna exit. No, anyways, you can use nano, but anyways, I'm gonna show you what command or what lines you need to add to your bashrc file, and it's these commands or environment variables that you need to set. This is required for Chromium to work properly, okay? So now we'll set up the Plex server and we'll do it through Docker. It's a much easier way to set it up through Docker and requires the least amount of setup, so that's why I'm recommending that step. So first of all, you need to install Docker. So you can go to this page here, which will show you how to install it. I'll also leave the commands in the gist page. But once you've done that, what you need to do is to build the Docker container. So what we'll do is we'll need to first clone this repository, and you go into you SSH into your device, create a directory called Plex. I've already done that, so you should see this page, this directory here, and then you do make directory Plex, okay, and then you go into the Plex directory. So now what you need to do is, before you clone the repository, just create these directories called, I'll show you where they come in, but for now just create these directories called config, data, and transcode. Okay, so I'll show you where they get linked. So now you need to clone this repository. So do git clone this. Okay, so once you've done that, what you need to do is edit this file. We're going to use this template. First, you can set up the time zone as Europe/London. That's what I've used. You can use whatever time zone you want. And then what you need to do is, this is where what I was saying is you need to link this. So you need to see where that directory is. It should be this one. And what you need to do is get rid of these. Just get rid of this whole thing. And you need to have it look like this. Code. There you go. It should look like this, okay? So once you've done that, quit the editor and copy this template into this file called docker-compose.yaml. Now this is important. The next step is, before you do that, you need to build the Docker container because it's on an ARM device. Just copy this command and paste it here. I'm not going to do this because I've already done that. And now the next important part is you need to execute the next command in tmux. Okay, because this next command will basically spawn your server, and if you don't do it in tmux, if you exit, it'll kill the session and the server will never be running. You always need to have your SSH session running, whereas tmux kind of allows you to run a session even if you've closed your SSH session. Okay, so once you just press tmux and do docker compose up. I'm not going to do that because I already have my Plex server running. Once you've done that, you should have your Plex server running, and the next step is to set up your server. Next step is to connect your Plex server to your Plex account. So next, you need to exit from your tmux session or create a new SSH session. Make sure you do X forwarding, so SSH-X with your details. Then open up Chromium browser. The next thing you'll do is visit this link here, and that will open up your local Plex server. Then log into your Plex account, and that will basically link your Plex server here, local server, to your Plex account. After that, you're all good to go, and then you need to add the content, and I'll show you next how you can do that. So now, how do you upload the content into the server? So one thing you need to use now is the scp command. So from the machine which you are using to remotely log in into your Raspberry Pi, just use the scp command and the name of whatever file you're trying to upload, and then your SSH details. So and then what you do is you give the full directory, which is this one, and then that's how you basically upload new content to your server. So now you're all set to go and try this server. Before I leave, I just want to give a bit of advice, and that is to use this for your own convenience only. For example, I'm purely using this for my own convenience. I'm streaming the guitar videos that I have bought, like I said, from artists and places like Jamtrack Central. So I urge you guys to be responsible and not share this content or whatever content you're hosting with others who haven't bought that content. So remember, you're just buying stuff from artists and supporting them, so just be responsible about that. And yeah, so if you liked this content, don't forget to hit the like button, and if you want to see more stuff, do subscribe to the channel. If you face any issues with this setup, do let me know in the comment section below, and also just let me know what more stuff you want to see. So until then, see you in the next video.